remember thinking that if I could just manage my time better, that everything would finally click into place. I want to talk about something that I honestly think is one of the more important conversations to have around business, which is the difference between being busy and actually being supported by your business. Because for a long time, I genuinely thought that the answer was just to become more productive. I was getting all the planners. I wanted to get better at time management. Maybe I needed a better morning routine or night routine. Maybe I should wake up earlier. Should I be staying up later, trying harder? I literally remember getting planners constantly. I even tried doing hourly schedules or breaking my days into quarters. Literally productivity systems galore. And honestly, they never really stuck, which made me start thinking that the issue was me, but that actually wasn't the case. If this sounds interesting to you, then keep on listening. Welcome to the Savvy Founder Podcast, where vision meets strategy. Get ready to unlock the power of mindset and entrepreneurship and demystify the art of systemizing your business for success. I'm your host, Janae Reed, an engineer turned master mindset coach and systems expert. Are you ready to transform your business and mindset? Then let's dive in and make your vision a reality right here on the Savvy Founder Podcast. I remember thinking that if I could just manage my time better, that everything would finally click into place. But the thing was, that all points to it being an issue of discipline, a thing of how rigid can you be? Can you just be robotic in how you run your business? And I remember trying to grow a business entirely from my mind. And that can work really well. I'm someone who was able to remember most of the things, but then sometimes it doesn't work. And when it doesn't, it all comes crashing down. The first time that I remember really thinking about this and thinking to myself, the first time I really remember thinking to myself, I can't keep running my business this way, was actually when I was working at corporate while building my business. Nights, weekends, literally every free moment that I had was going to the business. And in my mind, I kept thinking there's no way that I can keep up with these activities that are required to keep this business running, and let alone to help it grow even further. And at that point, I thought that my only option was to outsource. And so I actually hired a marketing team because I thought, okay, clearly I just need more hands, more eyes on this that can help me do this without it taking more of my time. But looking back now, there were foundational things that I was missing that I just hadn't built yet. And so outsourcing actually didn't solve the problem the way that I thought it would. And then the next time that I remember this coming up was in motherhood, and it felt like it amplified everything. I know I've talked about sleep regressions before on this podcast because hello, if you've gone through them, you know that they are something else. But I remember feeling like I had no solid way to make a plan for my business. I knew what I needed to do. I remember having the clarity and knowing the next steps I needed to take, but it just didn't fit in my life the way my business was structured at that time, which if you've ever gone through a period of feeling unclear, you know how once you have clarity, you're almost just like, oh my gosh, let me at 'em. Like nothing can stop me. And when your lifestyle feels like it's the thing that's stopping you, that is such a point of frustration. I can almost not even fully put it into words. But all that to say, once you have clarity, you know that you want to just go, right? You want to execute, you want momentum, you want to see it through. And I remember hitting this wall where I had that clarity, but my business just didn't support execution. And that realization was really huge for me because it made me realize that clarity alone isn't enough, that it's so critical that your business has the structure, it has the systems it needs, because when you're not operating with those things, everything starts to feel really reactive. Everything requires a response immediately. I remember everything living in my head. I constantly was hopping from task to task, and it literally felt like nothing I was doing was proactive because honestly, there just wasn't enough structure to support proactive behavior. Like there wasn't enough time. And so I started to consume more because I thought, okay, maybe there's just something I'm missing. So maybe there's a program, a course that I can take that can teach me. I need some information. I just don't have the right strategy. And all of those things led to me feeling busy, but it actually was an avoidance of the things that really mattered. Like I spent so much time than I care to admit now doing things such as reworking my website or working on systems that you don't need yet, like planning for problems that you don't have yet. And I think a lot of business owners, a lot of founders are doing this without being conscious that they're doing it. They think that they need more information when really what they need is more support built into their business. And another byproduct of this was just the fact that creativity was at an all-time low. And honestly, it makes sense because when you think about creativity needs space because flow is to me synonymous with creativity. And it's very hard to force flow, especially when your brain is having all of these open loops and things that you're trying to solve and quiet reminders in the back of your mind that just won't go away until they're done. And I had it in so many different forms. I remember having multiple content plans in my Google Drive, PDFs, freebies I had downloaded of the newest content plan that you need to reach your audience and go viral, the hook you need, the voice notes. I had PDFs, I had notes in my phone, I had sticky notes. Literally, I would lose them and then rediscover them later. And it didn't really matter how much I did in the day. It just felt like the work was never done, that my business was just consuming every available inch crevice of my mind. And I think that's what people don't realize when it comes to what operational chaos actually looks like. It's not just something that costs you time, it's your creativity, it's how regulated or not regulated your nervous system is, it's your ability to be consistent in whatever methods you decide to use in your business, it's your ability to have the space to rest, to be able to actually trust your business to hold you. I think a lot of people have normalized living in this state of mental clutter where business just feels like it's always on. And there's this thought that that's just what entrepreneurship is. But honestly, I don't believe that being constantly overwhelmed is a requirement for building something successful. I think that a lot of owners have businesses that are overly dependent on them, meaning that everything stops when they stop. And eventually that can start to feel very claustrophobic, especially when your growth starts happening. Because if onboarding 5 clients already feels chaotic, what happens when 20 come in? Operationally, that's very different. And scaling manual chaos is not it. At some point, that structure has to evolve to hold more. And for me, one of the first things that I did that really created actual relief was implementing a real CRM and project management system. I started using pipelines where I could visually see, okay, where are people in my world? What needs to happen next? What needs to get attention? What is already handled? I actually had started to use ClickUp, which is a project management software similar to, there's Notion, there's tons of them, honestly. And I would brain dump everything out of my head. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have to hold on to all of this mentally anymore. And it literally changed so much because before that, in order for me to remember something, it had to occupy my mind constantly. Like it's almost like the alert that doesn't go off because you're carrying it with you. And suddenly it didn't. I had a system that could hold all of that for me. I actually remember the first time that I realized that it really was working. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, why did it take me so long to do this? It literally felt like I was running my business in the hardest possible way. And I did not realize it. I thought creating ease was going to be difficult. I thought that support would be complicated, but once that structure was there, it literally was just wow, I can breathe, I can exhale, and growth stopped feeling so threatening because if you're in a place where you already are scattered in your business and your goal is to grow, growth can feel very limiting because yes, I want it, but you also are thinking, I won't really be able to get there without sacrificing so much. But when you have systems and structures, it really does change. Even having your client onboarding system developed can give you so much of your mental energy back. I remember before I had systems to do that, I would think, okay, did the contract get sent? Did they send it back yet? Was it signed? Did the email go out? Do they have the right calendar link to book? Do I still need to send the welcome package? Like there was just so much to keep track of. Or even worse, sometimes it would be someone actually would purchase and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go and get this in as soon as possible so they have it. It was just chaos behind the scenes. And I think sometimes that's the stuff that people don't talk about. But maybe you've experienced it before too. And that's how that process was working. But now the process literally works. It just works. Clients check out, the contract gets sent, it gets signed, calls are booked, welcome materials are sent, like the next steps are clear and laid out. And instead of seeing a new client and thinking, oh my gosh, what do I need to do now? I can just celebrate it. And that is such a different experience. And this is where I think the difference between productivity and structure really matters, because productivity is more of how efficiently can I complete something, whereas structure is how can I build this in a way that no longer requires the same energy input every single time. And that's very different. It's like building a house versus rebuilding a house every day you want somewhere to sleep. One requires constant labor, the other one is just support. And I think underneath the desire for, hey, I want more time, what people really want is something that looks more like having calm, having space, having certainty to be able to connect with their audience, to feel supported. You want to be able to trust what you've built, that you have a business that can actually support your life. And especially right now, I think we're honestly in an era where people don't just want financial freedom from their business, they want the lifestyle freedom, the spaciousness. They want a business that really does feel sustainable. And the analogy that I keep thinking of when I think of this is running your business from your mind is like trying to carry your groceries without bags. Can you do it? Sure. But eventually something breaks, something spills, something gets dropped, or it gets forgotten. And that's exactly what happens when your business doesn't have the operational support that it needs. So if your business currently is feeling heavier than it should, or that you think it should, if everything feels like it's reactive, if you're constantly in this, my mind is always on my business, that's probably a good sign that there's room for growth when it comes to structure and systems in your business. And I feel like that's the best news ever, because structures can be built, systems can be built. And once you know what it feels like to have those in your business in a way that's supporting you, you will never want to go back. If you're listening to this episode and realizing that your business has been feeling heavier than it should, I really want you to know that doesn't automatically mean that you need to go work harder, but it just means that your business needs some more support. And that's actually why I created the 15-minute system audit, because one of the hardest parts when you're overwhelmed is figuring out where the friction is coming from in the first place. It helps you start to look at your business differently, not just through the lens of how can I do more, but through the lens of what is creating that weight in my business. And so I will link that in the show notes if you want to check it out. I hope this episode gave you permission to stop treating constant overwhelm like a requirement for success. I'll see you in the next episode.